Hi, my name is Mike Ward and I'm the Global Director of Content at Informa Pharma Intelligence. We're here at the Cologne Bio-Europe meeting, and I'm joined by Stephen Muntner, who is the Vice President Deals at Informa Pharma Intelligence, and he is also one of the lead authors of a new report around sort of partnering in the pharma world. This was compiled with data from the EBD group and their partnering activity data, and also from pharma intelligence databases, which include MedTrack, strategic transactions, Biomed Tracker, Data Monitor Healthcare, etc., etc.
Exactly.
And what, it was just unveiled at this meeting.
Yes, just released.
So Steve, yeah, what is the sort of the key conclusion, once you sort of looked at all that data?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Thanks for having me here, and I'm happy. So we, as you mentioned, we used all the databases that we had available to us in Informa, and we also used some of the proprietary data that EBD group provided us from the past 2012, 13, 14, 15 at their conferences, looking at an anonymous version of the profile of who attended here. Right. And some key takeaways that we found, first of all, from the data from MedTrack that we got here was basically looking across both public and private companies and their pipelines. It's pretty clear that partnering has been the way to go. If you look at all the assets across their pipeline, about 85% of public companies have at least one partner asset in their pipeline right now, and private, similarly, it's at 70%, so also very large. But that being said, there still remains a very large opportunity for what we call unpartnered assets right now. Right. So what we did is we really used our sources and looked at, who are the top companies, both privately and publicly on a global basis, that have these unpartnered assets available. Right. And we looked at it also from the public side, who is low on cash, so it's less than 1 year of cash, because that would be a great opportunity for them to get money.
So, because quite a lot of partnering activity, certainly when it kicked off in the 1990s, was less about big pharma filling its pipeline through its R&D deficit, but it was actually more about financial transactions on the part of biotech. Have we seen any changes? Because my understanding is that between 2012 and 2015 in particular, about $200 billion went from the capital markets, was put to work in the biotech space. So there's plenty of cash.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you asked that. From the data that we were provided again by the EBD group, we did a thorough analysis, and what we've seen from 2012 to 2015, first of all, we've seen more companies, of course, coming to these events, more partnering going on. We've seen specifically where we used to see, very small biotechs, company employs maybe 1 to 10 people, partnering with the big pharma, basically. Just a way out, simple out licensing, and that would be that, and the big pharma would develop it. Now what we've started to see a little bit more, 13, 14, 15, and moving along, is we actually see partnering among the big pharma themselves, actually. We still see the biotech as well, but what we're seeing now, instead of the really small individuals, we're seeing more of the small to mid-sized companies, so those with employees, around 50 or so, they're tending to partner more with each other on the biotech side. And then also on the therapy area side, we've seen a big increase in oncology, and obviously one of the new trends is the immuno-oncology deal, and we've seen a lot of that increase as well with Bio-Europe.
So because if one looks at the sort of the tracking, I was wondering whether we saw a signal that around 2012, 2013, we saw a big increase in immuno-oncology type deal discussions that we then saw 12, 18 months later on. We then saw an uptick in deal transactions. Now, am I sort of, is there a sort of a bias on my part that actually I want to see that and therefore I'm seeing it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's definitely true from what we've seen. I mean, if you look at the numbers from 2012 to 2013 and 13 to 14, I think roughly 12 to 13 was almost 20% increase, specifically in oncology, and obviously a strong subset of that was probably immuno-oncology. Sometimes it's tough to tell exactly, and then 13 to 14 likewise a little bit less, but also in the teens. And what's interesting is when you see deal activity in the broader market, whether that's licensing, M&A, pick up, it's really more 14 and 15. 15 is where you hit that peak across all of the deal activity, and 16 is still looking strong. So it is interesting that one could maybe extrapolate there that some of the meetings that took place at BioEurope and other conferences in the 12, 13 range, we saw really reflected in the marketplace in that 14, 15 time frame.
And also, I mentioned about sort of the amount of capital that was available, but we didn't see a drop off in deal activity.
Correct.
So from what we see from MedTrack.
Yeah. If anything, we've seen all the way through 2015 very strong deal activity. We just looked at the licensing component from MedTrack, and in 2015, including all the heavy milestones and that data, it was nearly $70 billion. Now, we don't know if that's all going to be realized, but it's about 2.5 times the value we saw back in 2012. And 2016 still looking pretty strong. I mean, when we forecasted out, when we had the data for the report, we're at the 6-month mark, and we projected it out to be double, which is a rough estimate. And it's looking like the value is still on par. The volume may be a little bit lower, but I think that speaks to what you've been saying, that the value is still there. So similarly on the financing side, we've started to see some very large Series A, Series B rounds, 50 million plus, which you've really never seen in the past.
Yeah, in the past, that might have been the size of an IPO.
Exactly.
Whereas now, you say it's
unbelievable.
Series A.
Yeah.
So if we actually, one of the bits of data which I kind of again thought was interesting, and I suppose it's not surprising because this industry speaks with an American accent, that a lot of the deal activity that takes place at the BioEurope meetings was US companies meeting US companies here in Europe.
Correct.
Are we then sort of seeing that though in the actual sort of the deal activity? Because I think you guys had some data which actually showed if one looks at the big deals, actually it's non-US doing deals with US. So have you got any sort of thoughts on what's happening there?
Yeah, it's a very keen observation there. I mean, and yeah, we did look at the BioEurope data, and obviously all of the big US deal makers are over here year after year. We see them as the top by far, and we do see them meeting with one another. We also see them meeting with a lot of other European countries, and if we remove the US from the mix, the UK and Germany appear very high as well.
Sure.
But when you look at the deal activity, yes, you obviously see US, but generally more on one side of the deal now. We're seeing a lot of Asian players being involved in the big deals, European, kind of all over the map with these really big deals. It's really amazing how it's shifted. I mean, perhaps those US players are over here, they're meeting with all the international folks, and they're doing deals while they're over here.
It's great. So, sort of fascinating. People can get hold of this on they can download it from the EBD site.
Sure.
So there'll be a link to that, and it's free. We just have to have a few some registration details, and that'll be it.
Yeah, that'll be it.
Steve, thanks for
Mike.
popping by. Great.
Yeah,
Cheers.
great, appreciate it.